what Jacob was saying about making an exhibit is exactly the same way we make a newspaper. We just don't spend as much time on it. And I'm glad Ann and Nancy Wilson had one of their most formative experiences within half my life here, because I did too. I would say 1996, Deck the Hall Ball at Mercer Arena, and 1997, seeing Beck. Those were 2 days that absolutely changed my life, and it's the only reason I'm standing here today, other than a few other reasons. Okay. So I'm here to I'm here to tell you how to pitch your band's Awesomeness. And if you think that's a really bad headline for what I'm about to do, I get a lot of comments from bands saying they hated the headline that I put on the only article that will ever be written about them. So I'm sorry in advance. Okay, again, sorry the title is misleading. What I should have named it is that we are not a DIY operation, and I've never done anything by myself in my entire life. We do what we do, which is put out a newspaper because corporations and nonprofits support that, and because people in the music community help us do our jobs. I have, as of yesterday, I had 14,525 emails in my inbox. 11,000 of them were unread. That means it's not that I don't love you if I don't respond to your email. It's just that I just haven't gotten to it yet, and I admire people who email people over and over again. Dear music publicists, I love you all. I'm sorry I don't say it often enough. I'm sorry I didn't respond to the 4 emails you sent me on Thursday. And I'm not joking when I say that music publicists have the most underappreciated job in the business, and please give them a round of applause right now for 3 seconds. Okay, I honestly want to write about your record, and Seattle Weekly reviews every single record that we can get our hands on in the local music community, which was just under 800 releases last year. There's a place for every single band in the city, and then some in our pages, and just give me 4 minutes and I'll explain how you can help us do that. Please assume that I'm extremely lazy. I am the person who callously labeled your band indie rock, a genre that cannot capture the subtleties of the record that you put out. Assume that I'm lazy. Make things very easy for me, please. Name your album before you book your release show. Last week, I asked a band who we wrote about in this week's issue, so that Split 7 you're doing, what's it called? Well, we're thinking about calling it. Wrong answer. Finish the album before you book the release show. I can't tell you how many bands have said, hey, we got this show coming up. Will you write about it? And I said, could you send me the record? And they said, well, we haven't finished mastering it yet. Brother, your record is out in 2 weeks. Help me out. Okay, so like I said, hold the album in your hand and then say, maybe we should do a show, and maybe we should put together a campaign to get people interested in our record and our show, and I will be one of those people interested, I promise. Put it online, please, just somewhere where it's easy to stream. There are a lot of places to do that, and yet it's amazing how often it's impossible to listen to the music that you've spent a lot of time on, and we really want to get into our hands and pass it on to somebody who's going to write about it. Please pay somebody to take your picture. You've spent a lot of time making your record. Pay somebody. Who does? This is what I want to run. I don't camera phone photos. No, please pay somebody to take your picture and have a good time doing it. Good art makes better music, and I'm only half kidding when I say that. If I'm writing about your band and I'm writing about 50 bands on one page, do you think I'm going to pick a picture of Sean Nelson standing thoughtfully in a garden, or this picture? Okay. The original MySpace was the best website your band ever had. Everything else you've put out since then is terrible. Want to know what you sound like, where you're from, when your next show is, and that's pretty much it. Okay. The way that a newspaper works is that we need high-resolution artwork to put into a newspaper to run big. Your camera phone pictures are not a high enough resolution. Please send me a picture I can actually run in the newspaper. Okay, your new indie folk album is not interesting and it's not a story. That is to say, please help me and explain to me how your band is part of something bigger than the indie folk record it is just put out, because everybody just put out an indie folk record. That means send me ideas, not just your band names. One of my favorite musicians in town was a saxophone player named Skerrick, who I hope you've all heard. I was sitting with him while he was making a record called The Dead Kenny G's, for the Dead Kenny G's, and he said, I had the same teacher as Kenny G. That was a cover story. I'll tell you that story another time. If you see somebody writing for a publication that's writing about, the bands that you're so much better than, why don't they write about us? Reach out to that writer individually. Don't just send an email address to music@Seattle Weekly, even though that's what I'm going to tell you to do. All of our email addresses are online. You can find it. I have 15,000 emails in my inbox right now, and I have like 3 unheard voicemails. You can do the math. I do check my voicemail, and so does every other person in this business, and nobody uses the phone anymore, so it's a good way to get through. Text me, Billy Idol. Okay, one of the biggest selling artists of all time, the publicist was trying to get me to do a story on it, and I just kept kind of putting it off. I really wanted to. And then that artist sent me an email directly. I was humbled, and I absolutely wrote something, not because it just reminded me that I wanted to, and I thought it was the nicest thing and just very humanizing of them. That's something to remember, is that I really do want to write about your release. So if I'm not getting back to you, if any of us aren't getting back to you, it's not that we don't want to write about your release. It's that we haven't done it yet, and thank you all very much for listening.